Hey guys, welcome back to another one. I'm glad to have y'all here. I've been kind of sick the last few days. I had to pull my sets off that other farm due to the landowner wanting to let his coonhounds run. It's just been one thing after another. It's been raining every evening. It's been hard to get on the newest farm. But this weekend we are setting a new farm Friday and Saturday. So look forward to a good episode of a brand new farm coming out this Sunday. Should be fun. Hopefully Sunday will be check day 2 or 3 on that farm. It's a good farm. It's almost 100 acres. I picked up 5 or 6 coyotes last year, 4 bobcats, a big red fox, and a bunch of coon and things like that. It's a good farm. It's going to be a good time, man. I'm over this sickness I've been fighting. Bad head cold, stomach bug, got it out, feeling great. But I wanted to step in the meantime of working in between these properties, do a little catching up on a couple of my traps, getting them re-dyed and waxed. So I made a video on that, and it's mostly for you new guys that are getting into trapping. I've had a couple friends, buddies ask me to make a video like that. And I know there's a lot of how-to dye and wax on YouTube, but I really go into depth, the benefits and exactly what goes into it. And hopefully it'll help some of you new guys that are getting into trapping and wanting to catch some coyotes. Guys that's been trapping, you've seen one, you've seen them all. It's not really like that. I really go into depth on it. I'm sure, you guys that's been trapping for years, it's no benefit to you to watching it, whatever. But it's just how I do things, and I try to go in depth to help the new guy on this. And if you'll dye your traps and wax them in this process like I use, it'll really benefit you in catching fur. So all the new guys out there, thank y'all. We're almost to 400 subscribers. Thank you to everyone. I appreciate you guys coming along. And I hope this episode helps some new guys. And I can't wait to see y'all this weekend on the new farm. It should be some fun trapping out there. So stay tuned. Okay guys, welcome back to another one. It's been a little slow on the trap line. I had to pull my sets from that farm we'd been trapping. And I've still got a handful of traps out on the farm closer to my house. I have a farm I trapped last season that I done pretty good on. It's just a little further from home than I like. It's not too far though. It's like a little under an hour drive, 45 minutes or so. I was gonna get out there and set them this weekend. Well, Saturday I had to pull my other sets out, get them pressure washed, and I could have broke out my bunch of bridgers, but this season I've kind of grown partial to those MBs, and I've got a couple dozen MB 550s, and I've got about 4 dozen Bridger number 3 dogless modified. And being that I was on that farm where the dogs were and so many turkeys and stuff, I didn't want anything with any light pan tension. And I usually set all my canine stuff up for 2.5 pounds, but my MBs are set on 3.5 pounds. And so being that farm I was on with those coon dogs and stuff, I wanted to set my pan tension high, and that way I didn't risk catching any turkeys or anything like that and letting coyotes get them that way. There's a couple 650s in here, Duke, but most of them are MBs, 550s. And I was gonna do an episode on this. I completely built this trap right here. It got run over by a tractor last season and it's just been mangled. The only thing made it out was the jaws. Can you see that? The jaws are a darker color. Those jaws I was able to straighten up right here on this edge, right in there. And the pan was good too. But I had to get a new pin right here that my middle finger's on, that pin that goes through and down right here. And when you buy that replacement part, a new pan comes with it. So I thought, well, what the heck, if I'm getting a new pin, I might as well put the new pan on there with it. The dog was busted, the springs were broke, the clip was broke, base plate was beat all to hell. So I was able to go ahead and put new base plates on. I was able to put new springs in, new dog, new base plate bracket, Even the levers were ripped off. I put new levers in here. Everything is new on this trap but the jaws. And it cost me $9 to build it. The only thing got me was shipping. The shipping was, you know, 13 bucks, but I got a few other things. But if I just ordered that with shipping, I was at like $23. Well, you know, you could buy a brand new trap for that. However, since I needed some other things, I went ahead and bought it and figured I'd put it together and save it. And I picked up a couple extra parts so I could redo another one if something happens to one more. But it was not fun to rebuild, but it was challenging nonetheless, just lining everything up, getting it right. But anyway, now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and dye this one. This is how you get your traps completely scent and odor free for canine trapping. I mean, our dye bucket right here. We've got heat under it at the Fry Daddy. It's got a couple years of dye in here. I just kept the top on it and kept it clean. The dye will settle to the bottom. See that little bit? It'll settle to the bottom. So as you heat it, it's very important that you stir it as it's heating. And you set your traps down in there. I usually let them soak 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes in simmering water. And then I pull them up and let them air dry before they go in the wax. You can let them soak on low heat for days if you wanted, or you could even put them in there cold and let them soak for a week. It wouldn't hurt nothing. But I found if you get it low to a low slight simmer, you can drop 2 or 3 traps in at a time, give them 10, 15 minutes. That steel that's took in that rust like they have since I've cleaned them, it'll soak right in. And speaking of rust on the trap, you see that rust on that? That's a good little bit of surface rust. I got this trap 3 days ago. I soaked it in a small bucket of Dawn dishwater, warm water. You can use cold or warm, but I use warm dish Dawn water. I put it in there and I let it soak for a couple hours. After a couple hours, I put the hose pipe in the bucket down at the bottom and let it run. That oil floats to the top. Well, that water will push all that oil out of your bucket. That way, when you pull your trap out, it's not coming right back into oil. So then when I do that, that gets 90% of the oil off. But if you touch it with your hands and rub around in the springs and stuff, you'll still get a little black residue. So I take a wash rag with a little Dawn on it and I rub the springs down by hand. I get under the dog, under the pan, all the base plate, springs good, handles. I rub it all by hand one time with the rag, soapy rag, and then I hose it off. And then after I hose it off, I double check, and by then, all your oil is gone. There is no trace of oil left on it. Well, then I just take and put it in a little like aluminum. You can do a bucket, aluminum. If it's just, usually I have a dozen and I'll do like this. But I'll just take a small bucket, I'll set the trap in it, and I take a spray bottle full of vinegar. I do like a cup of vinegar to a half a cup of water. And it don't have to be precise, just a little more vinegar than water. And I spray it all over this trap. And I leave it outside overnight. And then before I go to work in the morning, dew's heavy and everything, I just go over there and I respray it again, flip it over, spray everywhere on it real good again and leave it. And then by the time you get in that afternoon, this is how rusted it is. Which I had an extra day, so today, yesterday and this morning, I hit a little bit more on it and just left it out. And then I just hosed it off with the water pipe good. Got every bit of the vinegar smell off. And I mean, for 2 days time, 2 to 3 days time, that's a good amount of surface rust, and that'll take your dye very well. Now, you don't have to do this with new traps. If you're new into trapping and you want to get trapping and ready for canines, you can buy them, and all you have to do is the Dawn trick I said and get the oil off of them. Once you get the oil off, then you can take them and you can go straight to waxing your traps. And you can wax them while they're really shiny. And it does great, and by next season, after you trap with them this season, they'll pick up enough rust throughout the year using them that whenever you dye, then by next season you're ready to dye and wax traps, they'll take your dye good because they've got rust on them. But it's just, I don't know, if I'm in a hurry and I'm going out of state or something was going trapping and I needed to get some traps ready quick, I would not fool with this. I would get them de-oiled and I'd wax them and we'd hit the road. But since I got a little time, it's just something personal preference. I like a dark black trap. It just feels natural to me and traditional, and I just really enjoy dyeing and waxing them. And I'd just rather not put the shiny trap in with just wax if I can help it. I know it doesn't matter. You'll catch that critter on a shiny trap or a black trap, all the same, I understand. But I just enjoy dyeing them before I wax them when I can help it. So we've got our pot going. It's starting to get warm now. I'm gonna stir it one more time here. All you do, these bags will tell you that they'll do 1 to 3 dozen traps. You could fix that bag right there in about 2 gallons of water, and you could do 3 dozen traps easy. So that right there, get any of you guys starting trapping, trying to test the water, see if you like it, learn about things, hobbyist, all that. They'll get you going just fine. Put it in warm water, mix it, let it break down good. It'll turn your water black. You got a good dye in there, and we're ready to start dyeing. All right, guys, let me get the camera set up. Stay tuned. All right, guys. We're gonna start out with this new Duke 550. We're gonna put her in the dye. But you see that little bit of rust, how good this dye, what it'll do to it when it comes out. It'll really preserve the life of your trap. As well, save the longevity of it and help it to hold up against the elements of outdoors. It'll speed up your trap, and it'll waterproof, rust-proof it. It'll just really protect what that dye does to that trap. All right, guys, so it's been about close to 20 minutes here on a light simmer. Let's see if we can get our Duke 550. That's the MB. That's pretty black. It took it well. You can see it shinier here and on the edge where there wasn't any rust yet, which is still okay. Since I touched it. Then I just take them right here. And I'll come in like that and hang it. Yeah, that. And that's it. Just let her sit there and air dry. We'll go down through here and I'll get all these pulled, dyed. And I just I bring them from here after they die and I start stacking them here. And I just work my way over. Stay with me, we're gonna get these dyeing, and when I get the rest of them dyed, I'll get back on here and we'll get ready to wax. Okay guys, so it's getting dark on us. I'm not gonna be able to wax them tonight because it's gonna get too dark. I'm not gonna be able to show you unless I break out a bunch of lights and stay out here in the cold. And I gotta work tomorrow morning, so I've had enough once I finish these. So we'll just pick right back up here tomorrow, waxing these traps. But have a look before it gets too dark to see here. Remember how they was all there earlier rusted? This is all good and black and dyed. Beautiful, beautiful. That's what they were before right there. That's how they are now. Gotta love a logwood trap dye. I've got 2 Duke 650s in there finishing up. And they're about 5 minutes out. I'm fixing to hang them up, kill the heat, and keep our wax covered. We've got our wax right here. We'll just melt that down tomorrow. and dip them in 2 or 3 traps at a time. Welcome back, guys. It's the next afternoon. We're fixing to get into waxing now. We've seen our dyeing process. We've still got our traps. We let them hang right here overnight. They've soaked in good. They've dried out good. They're all dried out and good and dyed. Now I'll be sure not to touch them with any bare hands. I know it's not the end of the world, but we're trying to secure any scent problems at all. So we're gonna be sure we handle them with only our trapping gloves there, that they never touched any bait or lures. All those gloves right there have ever done is put traps in and out of the Tupperware, or the in and out of the bus totes, as well as dipping them in the dye and or wax. So those are my gloves just for that. So that'll keep them scent free. They've been out here, there's been no fight. You got to remember, when you're going to leave a trap, if you're going to leave a trap to air out overnight or for a day or two in between dyeing or wax or anything like that, you want to make sure you're not downwind of a neighbor burning leaves or burning trash or a tractor and equipment. You don't want any foreign smell getting on your set. So that's a big thing. So we're fixing to fire up the Fry Daddy. We're fixing to get our wax right here going. And as soon as we get that going, I'll get you guys right back on here, and we'll start waxing. And another thing real quick, guys, once you start, if you haven't, this is for the new guys. If you've not waxed a lot, and say you've waxed once and then after this season you're going to wax again, well, when you save your wax and keep it clean, you remember how it was real clean and yellow yesterday? Well, as you warm it up, if you get a little of that black right there, that's not scorched, that's just some dye that settled off the traps as you dipped them. But do keep in mind not to get it too hot. I know a lot of guys will put a pot of water down and then put their wax inside that water, their jug inside the water, and that'll help keep it from ever getting too hot. But I've done it enough. I know I know not to get it too hot, and as long as you watch it, keep it on low heat just enough to get it melted, it does fine. But wax is flammable, and if you get it too hot, it will just ignite. So you have to be sure you're not going too hot on things. So anyways, we're starting to melt. A few more minutes here and we'll be ready to start dipping a trap or two. Stay tuned. When we're starting to melt, you can see we're still pretty solid, but we do have some already in there melting. You don't have to submerge it, so if you buy some wax for your few traps you have and your first time starting this, if it's not enough to submerge your trap, it's all right. You can put it in a couple inches of wax and let one side wax and just flip it like you would if you were cooking. You can see this wax on that trap. See that wax? If you get done waxing and it looks like that, that's no good. See? That's no good at all. It'll never stick. You got to put it in there, and what you got to do is let the metal reach the temperature, the heat. You have to have your metal reach the heat temperature of that wax for that wax to go clear. It'll look like you've dipped it in water or a shiny veneer type of sealer is how it'll look when you know it's waxed properly. You can see this moving. That's just from the wax melting below, but once it's all melted, it'll do that as it's pulling any moisture out of that steel as it's heating it up. And when it stops, you know you're hot enough. And it'll take a little longer when it's not completely submerged. But see how we're rolling that up now, and that base plate's shiny right there? You look, it's shiny here, but it's white here, right where I'm touching, shiny. See that? That shine is completely waxed. That is ready to go. But all that white there, that's no good. So we're gonna roll it over. And let that heat up. See how shiny that is now? There's no white film anywhere. that lets you know she's good. Now we got a white film right there, so we're gonna definitely have to rotate it one more time to be safe. Get that over. I'll roll it up like that for a second to get that white off. Now, all that good clean shine. It's only been about 20 to 30 seconds. See, we've still got it here. That's 2 layers of metal, so it's going to take longer to heat that thicker metal. So we need to go back down in there. We'll let that go another 10-15 seconds. You've got to get your wax right. You cannot skimp on waxing if you expect to catch canines. Give it another few seconds. Oh yeah, she's shining now. I'll shake it off. We'll come right here. I'll hook it on this screw here. And I'll let it hang. The only thing about that is that pan will get stuck to the top of your jaw and you'll end up with a chunk of wax on it sometimes. So I like to kind of let my dog dry like that for just a second before it lays back down against it. Just where wax runs down, it won't hurt a thing. Now, that's a Duke 650. I like to get the coil spring waxed. I don't have to have the anchor. And last bit of the first foot of chain, I'm not really worried about getting it. However, I want that coil spring, because I use the JC Connor shock springs. It's only about 6 inches off of my base plate of my trap. So I like to make sure I get it completely waxed good too, because it's sitting right under that trap. And the last thing you want is allow it to catch a little scent on it. So I generally always wax that. And when I'm not trying to film it, I'll be holding by the anchor chain. And like I said, the anchor, the wolf fang, and about 6 inches of chain will stay just dyed, not waxed. But doing it like this, I just drop it all in there. Don't hurt a thing if you wax your anchor and all with it. And sometimes when I've got a bunch to do, it's easier just to dump them all in there. And a lot of times I end up with a completely dyed and waxed anchor all the way from the trap to the anchor. But it won't hurt either way. You see, we're still not submerged because it's not melted yet. So I'm just rolling it. You can see there, she's white, she's shiny there. You gotta have that shine. That just means that metal didn't get hot enough right there yet. So we just roll it. See, we're starting to get that shine now. You see, we got a little white to get there. We'll just rotate it. See, back there's white. So we'll just give it a minute. Let that get hot. And if you only have like a half a dozen traps in a big pot, I mean, you can put them in there and let them stay in there for 2 minutes. And you know it's gonna pull everything out. It's gonna wax everything. Jake, leave things alone, bud. He's trying to get at some carcasses over there. But look here, we're rolling. Double check, everything's shiny. There is no make sure they get on both sides of that pan. It's good and hot. Yeah, we're in good shape. Always let your SS drip back off into your bucket. Bring her over here. Hook her up, let her hang. That's a nice, shiny, pretty wax job. Just remember, you gotta have the shine when you're waxing canine traps. See where some dripped right there? That's no good, but it'll come right off when I wax this trap next. But if you pull one out of the wax and you see any white left on it, you did not get that trap hot enough. Make sure you're getting your traps hot enough and letting them soak that wax up like they're supposed to, and keep them scent free as possible. And you'll be catching canines before you know it. So I'm gonna run through these next 16, 17 traps from yesterday, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. Isn't that a beautiful scene there? I went ahead and dyed and waxed my chain there. Couldn't help myself. I got 50 foot of chain. I only weld at the S hook where the wolf fang is. I'll spot weld my S hook on my wolf fang after I've cut them all to length. And of course that'll be buried, you know, a foot, foot and a half deep in the ground. So no worry about scent on that. But yeah, that's got us 19 traps, I believe. That's got us 19 traps back in the circuit. The only thing else I will recommend to you new guys, after you do this, once you're ready to go set traps, or before you get ready to go, take the dog and just take your knife and just run right across that night latch that's on your dog. And if you're using dogless traps, on the bottom side of that pan where the dogless lays on top of that jaw, just take your knife or a flathead screwdriver and scrape that SS wax right out of that night latch groove. It only takes one little run across, knock it off, and that'll help keep your true pan tension. So like them MB, some of those are set high from factory on 4 coils at like 4.5 pounds, 5 pounds. You wax them, they'll come down to about 4 pounds and they get faster. But if you knock that wax off, they'll still be fast in a true 4.5 pounds or so. But you set them for whatever you want. But that wax, when it's fresh, and that first time you go to set it, a lot of times when you go to night latch it, it'll just go ahead and set off. And if you're not behind that jaw, you know, you catch your fingers left and right when you're setting new traps. So something I found over the years that helps me is to just hit my night latch lightly with a flathead or a screwdriver, or with a flathead or a pocket knife, and get that SS wax out of that night latch. Hope you new guys learned something here, and I appreciate all you guys for watching. I know you guys, everybody has their own ways and techniques they do, and just get you a board with some nails in it, a pallet, a sheet of plywood. You don't have to hang them like this. You can always get you a sheet of plywood laid on an angle or just laid flat in the yard, and once they come out of the wax, you can set them on it if you like. I just like hanging them from the furthest swivel. Like there's my base plate and my trap. I go swivel about 6 to 8 lengths, and then I go a swivel, a shock spring, another swivel, and then there's my 1 foot of anchor, 14, 16 inches of chain to my anchor. I usually always hook them on that last one. That gets me the furthest swivel away from the trap, and if I wear a little wax off there, it gets a little scent on it. Being that far away, knocking wax off, it's going to do the least damage to me. It probably doesn't matter. I'm just being anal about it. But just how I do it, there is no right or wrong way, man. Whatever works for you, you do it. This stuff isn't super hard. It's not rocket science. It's just tricks of the trade, and figure out what works for you and how you like it best. The main thing is you get that scent locked out and get that wax on it and that dye, and you'll be ready to trap, man. Got the new farm coming up on the next episode. I trapped it last season. I didn't film my trapping last season. However, we had a pretty good couple of weeks on it, and I'm looking forward to that again as well. I know it's a little late in the year, but we're really trying to do some predator management. Even if we do start running into a lot of rub fur, it'll be all right. We got to get some predators off this place, and we'll take the good prime fur that we can get. I know my bobcats are really starting to prime up right now. That last one, he had a thick coat. Guard hairs look good. He had good thick mane. His belly, he wasn't spotted, but he was good and thick prime furred. And I found here in Tennessee, my bobcats are always prime and really the best by about that 4th, 5th of January through the end of February. This is going to do it for our how-to dye and wax video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you new guys learned something. And that giveaway's coming up. We got about a little over a week left in this month, and we're doing the giveaway on the last day of January. So if you hadn't already and you're a subscriber, get in on the giveaway. Go to Trapping Series episode 8. Go to the end of it. It gives you all your instructions. And make sure you get that comment in there, and make sure you hit that subscribe, and get entered in on these number 2 Duke Douglas. I'm giving them to somebody. Might as well be you.